Howdy. This is the Views from the Schott podcast. I'm your host, your one and only host, Tim Miller. And today is Friday, February 6th, 2026. And I wish you a very, very, very happy National Women's Heart Day. On today's show, it is a recap of Ohio State's victory over Maryland last night by 20 points. Final score, Buckeyes 82, Terps 62. A pretty easy win for Ohio State. Now, they probably wouldn't say that out of respect to the opponent from Maryland, and also because they would like to give themselves some credit for working hard to get a victory on the road in the Big Ten. But at least as fans, there wasn't much to worry about in this game. So we will recap this game in its entirety, complete game breakdown, key stats, takeaways that I've got from this one. Please make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe on YouTube and like the video on YouTube as well. As you may know, I would love to get to 300 subscribers on YouTube. If you're anything like me, you're generally a podcast guy. I've learned, though, recently, humble flex, when I do go to the gym, which is located in the basement of my home, I have decided I like to look at the person who is talking to me on my podcast. So I'll throw it up on YouTube, on my TV down there. It's a nice experience. So if you've always been a podcast guy, I'm not going to tell you shouldn't be that, but maybe just consider watching a show on YouTube. You might like the way it feels. But subscribe on YouTube, even if you're not fully in on the YouTube. If you like your podcast on podcasts, that's fine, but it helps the show out a lot if you could subscribe on YouTube and like the video there as well. And then, of course, there's views from the Schott podcast.substack.com. A lot of good info there, a lot of good intel in the insider subscriber chat as well that you can sign up for. Everything linked in the episode description. So it's Ohio State 82. It's Maryland 62. I tweeted yesterday as this game was coming down the pike. I said, hey, look, is this a trap game for Ohio State? And I gave several reasons that this could be a trap game for the Buckeyes. I will actually pull up those reasons right now. I said, number one, for Ohio State, it's a road game. Number two, it's a later start. And now Ohio State has played road games this year. They played late games this year on the road and all those types of things. But the combination of playing at 8:30, that being the tip time, local time, even against Oregon, they played at 10 Eastern, but that's the 7 o'clock local time, and that's the second game of the West Coast trip. So Ohio State was more than used to the Pacific time zone at that point in time. So I don't know if Ohio State has had a game that started this late in terms of local time, and they didn't even have a time zone adjustment for this one. So it's a late start. It could be a little sleepy, just feel weird in general. You're facing a bad team that hasn't had its best players since mid-December. That doesn't help either. You're also just facing a bad team. You are playing the biggest home game of the season on Sunday when you play a rival on Sunday and a top 5 team on Sunday. So very easy for Ohio State to look ahead. And I texted a screenshot to the insider subscribers in the Substack on the chat there of I was texting someone, and that's as specific as I'd like to be. It wasn't a friend. Well, he may call me, actually, he may not call me a friend. What he won't call me is an idiot. He had the opportunity to call me an idiot, and he explicitly said that I was not an idiot. So that, my friends, is a win for me. But look, it's someone in, around, near, close, nearby the program. That's as specific as I'll be. And I asked him, look, does this game feel trappy at all to you? And it was a resounding no. Essentially, the team is locked in. The players are locked in. They're ready to go for this one tonight. And I just more context that you probably don't really care about, but essentially just proving that this team understands that the noise that fans make and the noise that even I make at times asking if a game is a trap game, it's very important that you block it out this time of year, because this is where, college football's over, the NFL's over. This is where fans really start to pay attention to Ohio State basketball. And as you get into February, you're 1 month away from March. So fans start to pay a little bit more attention to Ohio State basketball. So the noise is just louder. I thought this had all the potential of being a trap game for Ohio State, and it quite simply was not. This was Ohio State with Jake Diebler and Bruce Thornton and Christoph Tilley and all their friends walking away from the building. The windows shatter. flames of fire burst through the walls and up through the roof, and kaboom. And Ohio State not looking back, just like it's a movie scene. They're not going to look behind them. They know what they've done. They know what they've done is violent. They know what they've done is complete and utter domination, but they're not looking back. It is what it is. We keep moving forward because it looks cool. And now Ohio State, of course, is on to Michigan. But, of course, we need to recap this game. I'll give you key stats in this one. I will talk about the Taysom Chapman suspension, what's going to happen with him in the Michigan game. That's going to be really important for Ohio State, his availability. And then I'll get into a few takeaways that I've got in this one. So thanks for being here today. Let's get into it. Ohio State 82, Maryland 62. It is 11:41 p.m. right now for me on Thursday night. You know, I even said in the last show, my bedtime is 10 p.m. It sucks. It sucks for me. And I do want you to feel bad for me. And if you don't, then maybe this show isn't for you necessarily. But I would ask that you feel bad for me. Maybe drop a comment on YouTube saying I'm sorry that you had to stay up so late. This must be very hard for you. And the answer is yes. All I want to do is go lay in bed. All right. Biggest stats in this one. The biggest, I think probably the biggest takeaway, they kind of go hand in hand, is the play of Christoph Tilley in this game for Ohio State. You look at what he did in the last game for the Buckeyes against Wisconsin. He looked absolutely horrible. It was the worst game that Christoph Tilley played as a Buckeye based on stats and on the eye test. I posted a clip on Twitter of his effort and his just a bad effort trying to finish a lob, and then jogs back, and then Wisconsin scores quickly, thanks in part to Christoph Tilley just jogging back. And that was me knowing that, yeah, people are going to pick this up and look at it, but also just I thought that was the play that really encapsulated everything that Christoph Tilley showed against Wisconsin. It was really, really disappointing to see his play. And again, I wondered after the game on the show, is he 100%? Is there something wrong? And if there is still something wrong, he should not play in this game against Maryland, because if you can't beat Maryland without Christoph Tilley, you're not going to go to the NCAA tournament anyway. You're just not good enough. But in this one, he plays, and he played absolutely spectacularly. 0 points, 0 of 8 from the field against Wisconsin. Just didn't look like he belonged out there. But in this one, against Maryland, 19 points. He shoots 7 of 10 from the field, made a three-pointer. It was the only three-pointer that he attempted in the game. 3 rebounds, 1 assist. Now, Christoph Tilley, I will say this. With the three-point shooting as bad as it's been this year, if you can just continue to force the defense, whether it be Adai Mora or Merez Johnson Jr. or whoever is guarding you in whatever game, if you can just force them to come out even to the free throw line or a step ahead of the free throw line to keep a hand in your face, think about the spacing and the opportunities that are now afforded to the other 4 players on the floor with Ohio State when Tilley is out there. I think that really helps. Even going 1-of-1, it's fine. And again, he passes up looks. There are looks that he could absolutely take that he doesn't. And I think that is some confidence. I think that's also some maybe Ohio State coaching staff just kind of reining in the leash and saying, Christoph, we need you to settle in here, and you're better at the rim. Although I talked about in the game against Wisconsin how bad he was at the rim. His shot quality, I thought a lot of times was fine, but he just couldn't make shots. And in this one, he goes 7 to 10 shooting. That was really, really encouraging. And again, he had the opportunities for 3-pointers. I tell you what, he's not the hardest player to scout, I guess I'd say. If I'm Michigan looking forward to playing Tilley for a second time, look, when he drives, he's going to look to spin and drop step at the rim. And if you can help on his, I guess, blind side, then you've got a chance to block a shot, or you've got a chance to poke a ball free. But regardless, 19 points, 7 of 10 shooting. He picked up 3 rebounds. He continues to not be the most productive rebounder for Ohio State as a 7-footer. That's surprising. Although I said this during the season preview series and throughout the offseason. Hey, look, Christoph Tilley, he hasn't shown the greatest rebounding production at Santa Clara. It's been worse here at Ohio State, but still, it's not been horrible. It's not like we're looking at Aaron Bradshaw levels of rebounding. And he also had 1 assist in this game for Ohio State. The plus minus for Tilley in this one was 26 points. I know people have their opinions on plus minus in one game, whatever. 26, plus 26 when Christoph was on the floor for Ohio State. The next best for Ohio State, by the way, was plus 18. So he was well ahead of everyone else. When Christoph Tilley was on the floor, Ohio State played its best basketball. He was super aggressive offensively, running the floor, not looking to pass, looking to go up to the rim strong. Nice dunk, couple of nice layups, moving in the fast break. John Mobley Jr., I thought this highlight would get a little more attention, but John Mobley Jr. gets a steal. He's sitting on his butt. He just kind of flips it up to Christoph Tilly, and Tilly takes it the rest of the way for a really nice layup. So that was great. But Christoph Tilly did a great job running the floor on this one for Ohio State, really strong at the rim. And I thought he looked really good defensively as well. He did have 4 fouls, but he was in the passing lanes. He made those baseline out of bounds, inbound passes for Maryland to chore, if not worse than that. So overall, this was a really, really encouraging game from Christoph Tilly for Ohio State. He was a big reason why the Buckeyes pick up the win in this one. Another reason why Ohio State picks up the win in this one, turnovers forced. Oh my goodness. This was a bloodbath for the Maryland offense in this one. Maryland suffered 16 turnovers in this game. And look, I think I've talked more than enough in the preview show about Maryland's struggles overall. Turnovers is something that they've struggled with as well. 12.5 turnovers per game so far this season coming into this one. And their turnover rate, really not good either at 15.5%. If you look at the recaps of the games that Maryland has played this year, obviously they've struggled with turnovers. That's not really all that hard to figure out. But they've had games where they've turned the ball over 20 times, 19 times, 18 times, 17 times as well. This fits into 16. So this is going to be what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th place, the 5th most turnovers that they've suffered so far in a year. And look, as you look at Ohio State in this game, there were just some unforced turnovers. There were some dead ball turnovers. There were some charges drawn by Ohio State, but the turnovers were huge for Ohio State in this one, not just because they forced 16, but it led to 24 points off of turnovers in this one for Ohio State. I would have to assume, I didn't check after the game, but I would have to assume that that's the most Ohio State has scored in a game this season off of turnovers. Even when they have created turnovers, they created turnovers for a while against Michigan. They didn't take advantage of a lot of the turnovers that they did force in the game against Michigan and other games this year, but in this one they absolutely took advantage. It's the most turnovers forced in a game for Ohio State against a Power 5 opponent so far this year, and the 3rd most turnovers forced overall. John Mobley Jr., Tayson Chapman each had 2 steals. Like I said, the Buckeyes drew some offensive fouls in this one as well. Turnovers really helped. Maryland looked hapless offensively at times, especially early on in this game. It seemed like Maryland just decided, hey, we're going to make this a rock fight. We're going to make this super difficult for you. We're going to make this really, really physical. And it didn't work from go because the officials were calling fouls. Sorry. I mean, not much else to say other than that. Like, you can try to play physical, but if the officials won't allow it on that night, then it's just not going to work. It didn't work for Maryland in this one. While they did muck it up for a while, overall, Ohio State obviously much more comfortable in this one. Another key stat in this one, and again, some of these key stats are takeaways at the same time, but I look at the minute distribution in this one. And what I would do if I could is I would open my phone right now, show you my text messages, and show you a text message with a timestamp showing you exactly what I said. I was texting someone, maybe the exact same person who said, yeah, we're locked in. We're ready to go for this one. Maybe not. Maybe someone else, but probably not. And I said, hey, how great would it be if you could win this game by 20 points and get Bruce Thornton 32 minutes, get him fresh and ready to go for this Michigan game on short rest? And lo and behold, what happened in this game? Ohio State wins 82-62. The analytics department here at Views from the Schott podcast told me that's a 20-point victory, so check that one off. And Bruce Thornton played exactly 32 minutes. I need the analytics department to run numbers on the odds for that, probably like plus 100,000. And if you put $1 on it, you're probably not going to work tomorrow. But I don't know anywhere that we could have bet that. However, it did happen, and I don't know. Maybe these games are fixed. Maybe I'm the one fixing them. I'm not the one fixing them. But Bruce Thornton, 32 minutes. They win by 20. Exactly what I was hoping for, because you only get 2 full days off. You get Friday, Saturday, then you got to go play on Sunday. Luckily, there's no rest advantage for Michigan. They just walloped Penn State on Thursday night. It wasn't even close from start to finish. I mean, it was a massacre there in Ann Arbor. So the fresher you can keep these guys, the fresher you can keep Bruce Thornton, the better. And 32 minutes for Bruce Thornton. It's the least amount of minutes he's played since the Mount St. Mary's game, which was before you had even had your Thanksgiving Day turkey. Probably. I can't promise that, but it was before Thanksgiving Day, so I assume. He also had 17 points in this one, 7-9 shooting. He passed up on plenty of opportunities from deep. This is kind of Bruce Thornton's game, and almost the conservative approach kind of shows out here as well, where he passed up opportunities from deep to get to the rim and make shots at probably a higher degree of difficulty, and yet he still made them. So super productive for Bruce Thornton tonight. He plays 32 minutes. At this stage, as a 4-year starter, playing the minutes that Bruce Thornton has played, especially over the past 2 years, 5 minutes may not seem like a lot going from 37 to 32. I think it's huge for him, especially when you only have 2 days off before you play the best team that you're probably going to play this year, most likely. I would say, and I think most of us would say, Michigan is the best team on Ohio State's schedule. John Mobley Jr., he's played 9 games with 30 or less minutes, including one where he got hurt against Pitt. So most of his games this year have been above 30 minutes. He played 34 minutes in this game, but relatively stress-free. He scored 15. All of the shots that he made come from behind the arc. So a nice game for John Mobley Jr. 34 minutes is fine. Would have loved to see him play a few less in this one, but a good game for John Mobley Jr., and the minutes are the minutes. Amari Bynum played 33 minutes. It's a bit of an elevation for him. Only 5 points. He didn't really seem to have much of an impact out there for Ohio State, but it's not a concern, at least for me. He scored 18 and 15 in the last 2 games. I'm not worried about him. So as you look at Bynum, you look at Mobley, you look at Bruce Thornton, really Bruce Thornton, the only player to see some kind of reduction in minutes in this one, and that's the one I care about the most. Also talk about Tilly and Royal here. Christoph Tilly, Devin Royal, they played 27 minutes each in this one. Look, Tilly, Royal, they both dealt with foul trouble in this one, so that probably contributes to the minutes a little bit. But Tilly, he needed to get right, I feel like, mentally, more so than physically, because my assumption is if you're playing in this game, you're probably healthy enough to play against Michigan. You're healthy enough to play against anyone. That's my assumption if you're going to let him suit up after playing against Wisconsin. You're probably not taking a step back in terms of your health since you're playing in this one. So for me, look, physically, that's one thing. Confidence, mentality, Christoph Tilly kind of remembering who he is and what he's capable of. That was huge for me in this one. I would have let him play maybe even a couple more minutes. Go ahead. I don't care. Foul out, Christoph, but go out there and get your minutes. Go get your points. Go get your buckets. Be aggressive and let that be a confidence boost for you as you head into this Michigan game. I think that was great for Christoph Tilly. Devin Royal plays 27 minutes. Just Devin Royal continues to be very, very up and down. I was gonna make some point about his play, but if you look at just the box scores of the past several games, the scoring pretty steady. Always expect him to be in double digits. He has some bad moments defensively for sure, and he struggles to do any kind of the more guard responsibilities when he's out there on the wing. But he's still scoring, he's still hitting 3-pointers, and he's still producing for Ohio State. So kind of like John Mobley Jr., you take the good with the bad. Another key stat in this one, Ohio State shot 57% from the field in this win, 18 assists on 28 made field goals. That's a great assist rate for Ohio State. They shot 62% in the second half, so it's not like they were that much better in one half or the other, but they played their best basketball in the second half, which is huge to be able to stiff arm Maryland out of this game. You saw Bruce Thornton, Christoph Tilly, they both got a lot of volume in this one. Tyson Chapman, he made half of his attempts coming off the bench. He played really, really well. 3 of 6. Bruce Thornton, I think 7 of 9. Christoph Tilly 7 of 10 in this one. So the guys who got a lot of volume here shooting really well for Ohio State. Are we good? My laptop just spazzing out there for a second. I thought I was gonna have to pause and deal out some punishment, but I don't. We continue. Tyson Chapman again. He shot well. Thornton, Tilly, they shoot well. So Ohio State shot 57.4% from the field against Northwestern. That was the best shooting performance of Ohio State's Big Ten in conference play so far this year. They shot 57.1% tonight. So 0.3 points, percentage points worse. I guess I'm still trying to get back on the rails here after my laptop had a slight meltdown. Um, 0.3 percentage points worse against Maryland than they were against Northwestern. Still a great shooting day for Ohio State. They're also 47% from deep in this one, and this was on par for Maryland's defense. Talked about this in the preview show. Maryland's defense from the field, from the 3-point line, not good whatsoever. And Ohio State, they handed out the punishment in this one. David Coit, by the way, 9 points in this one. I said on the preview show, I said in Breakfast Bites on the article on the Substack that, hey, look, if Maryland were to pull off an upset in this game, it would probably have to be with David Coit doing what he did against Penn State and USC to Ohio State. And instead, he comes off the bench, which, look, I'm not the one to throw stones. I'm not a college basketball coach. And look, I'm a fan of Buzz Lightyear and Buzz Williams, and I think Buzz is a good coach. I've said that before. Your most dynamic player, for better or for worse, is David Coit. He may miss some shots and he may have horrible efficiencies, but he may go out there and score 38. And you needed his 38 tonight. Instead, he's 4 of 10 shooting. He scores 9 points. Comes off the bench, doesn't really do much in this one. So Ohio State, there wasn't too much of a concern overall for the Buckeyes. So, takeaways in this one for Ohio State. First thing I'll get into here is a Tayson Chapman ejection. So, there's a couple different angles here. The first is like the aftermath of what happens to Tayson Chapman. Can he get suspended? Is he going to miss the first half? I saw people tweeting about that, asking me, is he going to miss the first half against Michigan? And then there's the other side too of like the mentality, and that's where I'm actually going to start. I've said this on the show just in passing. It's not been a huge point of mine, but I've said this over the past couple years. Ohio State has not really had a player who just has that crap to him, for lack of a better term, or just earmuffs, keep it family friendly. They haven't had that guy. They haven't had the Kyle Young, obviously the Aaron Kraft type, just the guy who's willing to slap the floor, kind of punch you in the gut and just be tough and fire you up. And Bruce Thornton, I get he's a captain, all that stuff. You don't see him flexing all that much. There's not a lot of players on this team, if any, who I would say, yeah, like they really, really get fired up and they can fire these guys up at time and be an enforcer at times. And you know what? Tayson Chapman got slung around by Elijah Saunders, who, I don't know, just frustrated with how the game went or how the season has gone for Maryland. There's no other way to put it. Like, this is not bias. Most people listening to the show are going to be Ohio State fans, so you probably agree with me regardless. But there was no reason for what Elijah Saunders did in this game. None whatsoever. It was too physical. It was wrong. It was out of line, all that stuff. And I think a lot of times we see players who will put their hands up and they'll back off and they'll say, yeah, I wasn't part of this, whatever. And that's fine. That's the right thing to do, technically. But I do think it's kind of similar to a quarterback on 3rd down and 5 at the 45-yard line of the defense. And he scrambles out to his right. He's looking, and he's like, you know what? I'm just going to have to take this myself. And he's got a linebacker and a cornerback closing in on him at the sideline. He's got 2 options. He can run out of bounds and make it 4th down and 2, or he can lower his shoulder and churn his legs and try to get those 2 yards, but it's going to hurt and he's going to get crunched. And when that quarterback does move forward and try to truck someone, man, it fires everyone up. And I think it gives a team a lot of faith in that player. I think you need that on the Ohio State basketball team, and I think you have not had that over the past couple years. And Tayson Chapman got shoved in this one. He got shoved, and he got up, and he got in Elijah Saunders' face, and he threw kind of a punch. He kind of threw like a hit, a slap tight, where it was like kind of a closed fist, but not really in slapping motion. I don't know what it was, but he retaliated. And you know what? I think any of us would have done the same thing. Like that type of contact that Tayson Chapman took was annoying. It was frustrating. It was kind of dumb. So I'm all good with Tayson Chapman reacting to this. The flip side, of course, is, well, you can't get ejected and you can't put yourself in jeopardy for the game against Michigan. We know this. But I will say, just on that part, again, there's a time and a place, and he can't get ejected. If this were a 2-point game and he gets ejected, that's really, really bad. But it was a 20-point game, and I would have to assume in the back of your mind, you're saying, you know what, this is a blowout. And also, like, what are you doing? Why, Elijah, are you slinging me down on the floor? This is just stupid. It's a 20-point game, man. Relax. That would be my opinion if I were Taysom Chapman in that moment. So good on him for reacting. Good on him for retaliating. Hopefully it fires up his guys. I mean, Colin White got in there quickly, and he was doing some shoving too. When's the last time you saw an Ohio State squad of 5 on the floor just kind of get after it with their opponents? I'd like to see it. Maybe we see it against Michigan. Why not for the technical fouls, not for a flagrant, not for someone to get ejected, but just provide some energy and to look each other in the eyes and say, I freaking love you. And sorry if that's weird. I love you. I'm gonna fight for you. You're gonna fight for me. I got your back. We've got each other in this, and we're gonna fight. And I think that bond, that means something. I think it means something. So it's good for Taysom Chapman. Now, what does this mean for his future? Taysom Chapman will be available against Michigan. There's no doubt in my mind about that. He will play against Michigan. He's not going to get suspended. There's no rule in college basketball where if you get ejected, you miss the first half of the next game. That's college football's dumb rule. Luckily, that hasn't made its way to our beautiful sport. But Taysom Chapman, he'll be good to go against Michigan. He had a good game. I mean, a really, really nice 3. I said something mildly weird in the insider subscriber game thread chat that we had when he made his corner 3 from John Mobley Jr. in the second half. Really nice finish at the rim with a layup. And again, throwing a punch. I'm good with it, bro. I'm good with it. So expect Taysom Chapman for Michigan. Good game from him. And fans, hey, you were right. You were right. In the battle of Taysom Chapman v. Gabe Cupps 2025-2026, the fans were right. And the coaching staff, it appears at this point, was the opposite of right. And that's as specific as I'd like to be. Other notes on this one, takeaways. The throat was stepped on in this game. There's been people who have said, Ohio State, when you play Maryland, when you play Penn State, whatever the case may be, at what point does Jake Diebler finally step on the throat? And this game was a game where Ohio State did it. Buckeyes' largest lead was 22 points in this one. It came with 8:54 left to go in the second half. They won the game by 2 less than that, 20. The lead was never less than 15 after they got up by 22. Jake Diebler calls a quick timeout, settles everyone in, and they end up winning the game by 20 points. This was a game for Ohio State where, as you went into it, I said, could be a trap game. And I think we were all just nervous about playing at the Xfinity Center, playing against a bad team, just how weird the vibes were for this game. And I think more than anything else, just the fact that if you lose this game, it's so bad on your resume. And when you've got no quad 1 wins at this point, you can't afford any quad 3 or quad 4 losses. I get all that. But I never will call this game a must win. It was a can't lose, not a must win for Ohio State. But Jake Diebler, Ohio State, they stepped on the throat tonight. That was good to see. Poor Turtles, though. Poor Turtles. Another takeaway, surprised to see no Matthew Grujic in this one. So he was available. He's been dealing with a wrist injury. He was available in this one, and he doesn't play. Braylon Nash plays over him. I get that you've got Colin White in there, and maybe you don't want to put 2 small forwards out there at the same time, but there's 2 minutes left to go. Get Gru in. Actually, pause. Just give me a second here. We're gonna do Views from the Shop podcast investigates right now. He hasn't come close, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Matthew Grujic has played in 6 games this year, so the red shirt is still available to him, I suppose, at this point. So I don't know why he didn't play in this one. Is he that far out of the rotation? Is he practicing that poorly? Ohio State really doesn't believe in him? Or was it just, we're going to get Braylon Nash and Colin White in there? I don't know. That was surprising to me. All right. Last takeaway in this one. I think this outcome plays well for Ohio State on Sunday against Michigan. You may say that a game like this, maybe you do need to win by just 6. Maybe it does need to be tight. Maybe it does need to be close. Maybe you do need a wake-up call before you play Michigan. Look, it's Michigan. You're about to play a top 5 team in your house, the biggest home game of the season. It's a revenge game and a rival. All of that coalesces into this is the biggest game of the season for Ohio State coming up against Michigan. I don't think that you needed a wake-up call against Maryland in this one. I think that Ohio State winning this game by 20 points is better than them winning it by 5 because you now have the confidence moving into this Michigan game. You have the expression of, hey, we beat Maryland by 20. Michigan, Illinois, Nebraska, sure, they're blowing out teams too, but we punched up a class in this one by beating Maryland by 20. We're only favored by 7.5. You think the guys don't look at that? You think the players don't look at how much they're favored by? I'm absolutely sure they do. They're not opening up FanDuel, but it's not hard to figure out how much they're favored by. I mean, just follow Views from the Schott podcast. Some of the players do. Maybe they see the tweets. I don't know. There are some I've said this before. There are some players who will literally go through my timeline at the end of the game and like tweets where they're mentioned. I won't say who, but I will also say that if they're going to do that, they need to at least follow me, and they won't. I don't know what that's about. It's weird. All that said, you didn't need a wake-up call in this one. Winning this game by 20 is good for Ohio State. I think it's good momentum. It's good confidence as you move into Michigan. Now, speaking of Michigan, here's what we're going to do, okay? Because this show comes out on Friday morning, and this game, Ohio State versus Michigan, is on Sunday. You're going to be busy over the weekend. I would love to get you a big, full breakdown of Ohio State against Michigan round 2, like I did for the first game and every other preview show that we're used to. However, I know that what's going to happen is a lot of people are going to listen to this episode, and the weekend will come, and they won't have time, or it just will go back of mind to listen to Ohio State and Michigan preview. So that said, here's what I'm going to do. Friday, Saturday morning, I will release a different style of show previewing Ohio State against Michigan, so be ready for that. Make sure you subscribe. Wherever you get your podcast, I don't usually blah, blah. As long as you're doing that, you'll find it, okay? It'll be out. It'll be a different pace, a different style, but it will still be the preview show for Ohio State and Michigan. Until then, thank you for listening to today's show. It is after midnight. I am sleepy. I am the meme of that sleeping time bear with his tea and his nightcap on. That's me right now. So, I gotta shut up before you shut me off. I gotta thank you for listening to the show. I have got to go edit this. It's to be published tomorrow and then go to sleep. So, until next time, thanks so much for listening to today's show, and go Bucks.